Hi, Internet. I'm not your attorney unless we have a contract and you've paid my fees. I have been wanting to talk about this recent articles about this attack on no fault divorce. And when I was looking it up, and remember, I'm a divorce attorney for 20 years, I thought that this was some kind of a new wave of legislation. But when you do a search on the internet, there are articles going back to the early 80s where there's a discussion on whether or not no fault divorce is good for women and children, bad for women and children. Does it set up further economic disparity? And I think in context now, it's probably freaking out a lot of people because it's really being looked at in terms of as a barrier. If no fault divorce is taken away, it's a barrier from women and children being able to escape abusive and violent situations without having to prove cause. And for those of y'all that don't understand what that means, what it means is having to have a fault divorce means you have to prove with evidence that the fault that you're alleging is actual and factual. And I can't believe I just said actual and factual without singing. But especially because this is serious, and now I've just made a 90s song reference. Okay, back on task. But it's really hard to prove fault divorce. And I don't know about all the other states, but in Georgia, the statutes that do have fault divorce, it's really clear from the case law that you have to have a very high level of evidence to be able to say to a court, this is cruel treatment, or this is adultery, or habitual intoxication. Those grounds still exist, but there's a really high burden on the person saying fault to be able to prove it. So if the governments start passing laws to take away no fault divorce, where you don't have that high burden of proof, it just means that a lot of victims and children are going to be stuck in these marriages. And I think that when you're looking in that context in 2023, that's probably worth everybody being concerned about and keeping an eye on the states that are continuing to introduce legislation. Texas, for one, has tried to introduce legislation over and over and over again. And I sometimes think that when you repeat something enough, it can happen. So we all need to keep our eyes out and just get out there and vote, and let's get some more women in this legislature and on these benches. Have a good day, y'all. Stay safe. It is a weird world.